Hey, what's up, people? I'm Mihai, your self boost coach. Welcome to another episode about removing bad habits. This is the third episode in a series. In this episode, I will discuss the first step in getting rid of your bad habits, which is discovering or detecting your bad habits so we know what to fix. First, let's remember what a habit is. First, there's a signal that triggers a certain behavior in our brain. Then there's an action we perform. And then there's a reward that our brain provides us with in the form of a cocktail of chemicals that we feel very good about it. And then this imprints us this behavior. So each time this signal is present in our environment, we take the same action, get the same reward, on and on. There are multiple ways to discover a bad habit. I will explain here two of them. First is when someone tells you about it. I will give you an example. Let's say in a conversation you have this bad habit. Each time someone says something boring, something that you're not interested in, you yawn. Right? That's a bad habit, it's impolite, and you are not actually aware you're doing it. So here you are giving wrong impressions, sending wrong signals that you are not even aware you are doing. So there might be a good friend that notices this and says, hey, take care that each time there's a conversation subject that is not interesting to you, you tend to do this yawning, which just looks bad. The second way of detecting bad habits is that you notice the habit's side effects. Let's say you have a habit of eating unhealthy foods and you get fat, right? You weigh yourself and you discover that you have gained weight, and that's a warning sign, and you start wondering like, hey, let me look into my habits and see what causes this effect. So that's the second way. That's not depending on someone else. It's based on your own observations about yourself. After someone warned you about one of your bad habits or you discovered its side effects yourself, the next step is to try to determine when you are doing it. And this is somewhat funny, but it's like catching yourself doing it or surprising yourself doing it. Once you are aware you have this habit, you are noticing, hey, I'm doing it again. This is it. This is happening right now. This is how it happens. Whether it's about the yawning, like someone says something that is boring to you in a conversation and you just notice, hey, I just yawned. So that's how you detect or catch yourself doing it. Or in the example with gaining weight, right? You are gaining weight and you are start to looking into your diet and say, hey, that time I ate too much or I ate some unhealthy foods and so on. So the first step in fixing these habits is catching yourself doing it, right? Because it's a subconscious process, so you are not doing it consciously. You have to get conscious about it. You cannot fix something that you're not conscious about. So the first step is to get conscious about it. After you start surprising yourself exercising your bad habit more often, you can get to the next step, which is actually determine what's the signal, what's the trigger that led you to this bad habit. So what does it trigger it? In the yawning example, it's this conversations that seem boring to you. In the case of eating unhealthy foods, you have to determine what led you to consume those foods, what happened just prior to you consuming those foods. So it's very important to determine what led you to the action of the bad habit itself. And this is like the second step in changing your habit. That's it for today. If you somehow found out about a bad habit of yours, whether someone else told you or you discovered it yourself, try practicing these two things, like surprising yourself doing it as often as possible and determining the trigger that led you to do that action. And then in the next and last episode in this series, I will explain how to get rid of the bad habit and replace it with a better one. Take care and see you next time.